Do you think we are doing as good or as well as Corey Seager, who is going to fly the most airplane miles ever in this little span right here, bouncing around with the team?
I don't know. I felt bad. Obviously, it was a great experience for him and his family, and going to the All-Star game, doing the home run derby. We had talked about it a little bit prior, just thinking about giving him yesterday's game off, just because of the travel, and even considering not even bringing him. I'm just hoping that he didn't even realize that we were on the East Coast, and that he just kind of was there, and then just happened to be on a plane for 5 hours back. I'm hoping he didn't get caught up in all the time change or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a little bit odd travel, but he'll be ready to go today.
On a more serious Corey Seager note, since June 13th, I saw Jared Sandler was doing the pre and post June 13th stats for Corey Seager. He has just been on a tear, and one of the reasons is it seems like he's really been taking advantage of fastballs more as of late. Is that the way you view it? And if not, what all goes into his hot streak?
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, listen, if you look at the numbers, that's obviously evident. He's been hammering fastballs, but he's always looking for a fastball. I think that anybody that knows him well, he speaks about it. He's open about it. He's just got an elite ability to kind of see spin, stay back, use his lower half to kind of ride out off-speed pitches and spin in the zone. He's always hammered, breaking balls and balls that are in the strike zone, off-speed pitches. But he's unique, man. I mean, he never comes off the heater. He's ready to hit it, and when he's in a hot streak like this, I feel like every ball he hits is going to end up in the seat. I've seen him hot, obviously, in LA, but not. I think at this level, when it comes to power, I think I've seen him just hit rockets everywhere, hit line drives, hard balls everywhere. But right now, it's like I feel like every time he gets the ball on the barrel with any kind of loft to it, it's not coming back.
Rangers manager Chris Woodward joining us here on the K&C Masterpiece on 105.3 The Fan. And I'm going to make this one simple. Jon Gray seems like he's got a future in this league. Your thoughts?
Yeah, we're starting to see the Jon Gray that we got, super, super excited about when we signed him. Just talking to him prior to the season with our pitching coaches, when we met with him to try to bring him on board, his excitement and trying to improve and get better, and knowing that there's another level to him. Getting out of Colorado was kind of a big one, obviously, with the altitude there. But what we're seeing now is just a really, really confident pitcher who's got elite stuff, knowing how to use it. I feel like every time out, he learns a little bit more about himself and how to use his stuff a little better. His stuff ticks up. I mean, this guy holds his velocity, as good as anybody I've ever seen. And, he starts the game at 96, 97, and he ends the game at 96, 97, around the 100 pitch mark. So this guy puts a ton of work in, wants to be great, and we're starting to see it right now that every start out, I feel like he's been dominating.
I want you to talk a little bit more about Jon Gray, because just looking at his ERA through April and May, and I know he was inconsistent because of injuries, really getting into a rhythm. He had a 5.56 ERA in April and May combined, and then in June he has a 2.39 ERA, and this month he has a 2.25 ERA. Can you get a little bit more specific on exactly what has changed besides health from April and May to June and July?
I think it's just a consistency. The stuff I feel like has been there. I don't know if the finger early on was he wasn't able to spin the ball. You saw the first 3 innings in Toronto. I mean, that should be pretty evident of what he was featuring. I mean, he wiped out a pretty good lineup, for 3 innings basically, and then once the finger became an issue, he couldn't quite spin the ball the same. So the inconsistency in the slider and the breaking balls it wasn't there. He wasn't able to execute it. Sometimes it was good, sometimes it wasn't. Then the knee issue obviously was, it was concerning just because he couldn't really drive into that side, the front side. And, it was bothering him. You can tell he pitched with that brace on. He couldn't really get down the mound like he normally does. So all those factors kind of led to just an inconsistency in execution. And now you're starting to see like there's nothing inhibiting him at all. And his arm feels great. Obviously his confidence is through the roof. He feels like he can go out and execute these pitches, and when he does that consistently, it's really, really tough to hit, man. He's just got a low release. He's got velo. He's got spin. He's got all of the things that pitchers nowadays need to have to be successful to create swing and miss. And when you're executing it, there's not much a hitter can do.
I know the focus is on the big club right now. I certainly understand that. But given that we just had the draft with Jack Leiter, Owen White, Cole Winn, Cole Reagans, and now adding Kumar Rocker, Brock Porter, how excited are you about at least the potential future that the Arms have coming up for the Texas Rangers?
No, it's super exciting, and obviously the guys we have here, the guys that have been here, we're going to have a ton of depth, and honestly, like some of these guys could potentially become, stars in this league. That's how good the stuff they have. So, the future is very, very bright from the pitching side. In a couple of years or next year or the year after, we could have a staff full of guys that, obviously with Jon Gray here now, that, maybe 3 out of the 4 starters, are 25, 26, but with elite stuff. You couldn't ask for a better situation, honestly, especially because we're going to have them for a long time. And to fill your roster and to have your starting rotation with that kind of talent, and then also the competition that comes with that, they're going to be scratching and clawing to get here, compete against one another, in a healthy way, but compete against one another to get here, to establish themselves here. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, and when it comes to the development of those guys, we saw that Jack went into Double-A pretty quickly, and we were like, oh well, that's interesting. And I'm kind of curious for Rocker and those guys, kind of where they go. But when you're looking at the development of them, what are the things you want to see for them to start making that move up the ladder? What are the things that you need to get from them?
Yeah, I think we're seeing that right now with some of our younger guys. The development that we need to see at this level. It comes down to execution. Can they handle the mental strain of just pitching in the major leagues? Maintaining confidence, maintaining composure. A lot of those things are vital to being able to go out. You're going to go out and sometimes you're going to give up 2 runs in the first inning, or you're going to give up a leadoff single to start the game. How do you control your emotions and keep yourself composed to be able to continue to execute pitches? We work on the stuff a lot. We work on the shapes of the pitches, and some of these guys we're going to make little tweaks to here and there to improve their stuff and really help them understand how their stuff works in the strike zone to major league hitters. But at the end of the day, man, we're all human beings, and we get between the lines. That game can take us one way or the other. Typically, when you're doing well, your confidence is riding high, you're executing, there's nothing getting in the way. But as soon as you run into a little bit of adversity, that's where a lot of these younger guys and these younger arms need to figure out, how to get through those games and how to continue to compete, how to hold runners, how to make themselves a winning major league pitcher.
So, Woody, I have a question about double play depth. I love learning about the game today versus kind of when we were playing. And I felt like maybe I'm wrong about this because I was just on the mound, but I feel like whoever was up, whether it's Ken Griffey Jr., Frank Thomas, if there was kind of a runner on first, we went into double play depth where you'd pinch a little bit of the base. Obviously, there wasn't as much, much shifts back then. And then the guys would come in, right? You don't want to play at the back of the dirt. You want to play closer up to try to turn that double play. And I see not a lot of times, but there's times where you guys don't play double play depth, even with a runner on first base and that opportunity. I'm sure there's a lot that goes into it. Who's up to bat, game situation, everything. Can you talk about how much the game has changed maybe up the middle and double play depth when we played 10, 15 years ago versus the decision on playing double play depth now?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a conversation I had, when I was an infield coach in LA, and I discussed a lot with our team upstairs that kind of, would look at spray charts and figure out where we're going to position guys. At the end of the day, we want to get outs. Yes, we'd love to get 2 outs, but a lot of times, double play depth, the old traditional double play depth, is at a detriment to even getting 1 out. So we kind of obviously factor in certain guys, guys with speed. Sometimes you may say, okay, hey, we need to play a little bit closer, but I don't think we need to play closer to second base. If they pull the ball in the 6 hole, why are we playing up the middle if that's not where they hit the ball? Just because we're trying to get a double play, we're not getting any outs when they actually hit the ball where they normally hit it. So I think there's a lot that goes into that. And, the bigger guys, it makes it easier. You just kind of back up and you can still turn a double play if they hit it hard. If they hit a 90-mile-an-hour ground ball to you or higher, and it's right to you. It doesn't matter if you can be on the grass back, and you're still going to turn a double play on that guy. It's the guys with a little bit more speed maybe have to kind of adjust and move in a few steps. There's a lot of different things, and obviously Corey Ragsdale and myself and our infielders, we talk a lot about those depths and where they should be and what's the optimal depth to allow us to potentially turn 2, but at least to get 1 out. Like, getting 1 out is far more important than anything, because we'll get that 1 out more often than we'd ever get 2.
I know this is just one exception. I was talking to Steve Buechele about this, and it was amazing. He was talking about Greg Maddux, and Greg Maddux would sometimes change his own defense and then tell, like, Boo playing third base, "Hey, Boo, I'm going to get you a ground ball here. Make this play." Like, he could dictate where the ball was going to be hit. And Boo said he's the only person that I played with that he could dictate where the ball was going to be hit, tell you, and then it would happen. Now, I know that is very rare, but is there ever a time where Jon Gray's a veteran pitcher where at times he tries to make a little bit of adjustment to where the defense is at because he believes the way he's going to pitch the ball is going to be dictated to this part of the field?
I think a lot of pitchers, I think they need to be part of the process, clearly. I know when I was in LA, I had to talk to those guys a lot. And we had some guys that were a little bit against shifts. It was early, in the shifting days, I guess, in 2016 was, it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. And some guys didn't love it. So you have to include them in the process and understand what goes into where you position guys and how you position them. But our guys are definitely in tune with that. I think Martin is probably the most vocal about it, just because of his pitch mix. He pitches away. He pitches, sinkers down and away, changeups down and away, and he commands the baseball so well that a lot of teams have actually, changed their approach because of how well he executes. So they kind of take what he gives them. Some guys don't. The White Sox did it to him, where they just kept backsiding balls to the opposite field, taking little bloopers to right field, the right-handed hitters. And most teams don't do that. Just because he's so good, they figured that's the only way they're going to beat him, because he was executing so well. But each pitch that those guys throw has a unique outcome. So if they're throwing cutters in, those get pulled maybe down the line and then 6-hole, and if he throws a sinker away, it could get hit all over the field. So it's obviously really hard to position exactly in the right spot. But our infielders have to be in tune with what we're throwing and how we're throwing it and where we're throwing it, because that's going to give them more anticipation as far as, okay, that ball is going to be hit there. But our pitchers are definitely in tune. At most times, once they see how much data is put in and how much time is put into putting those guys behind them in the right spot, they usually say, okay, I trust you guys, and I'll just go out and pitch. But they need to be part of the process for sure.
Woody, I'm kind of curious. I know you spent years in this league, but as the manager, I wonder if your approach has changed over the last few years around this time, whenever it's trade deadline and guys might get a little, and they're not as focused on what's going on with the big club, idea, trying to win games, and maybe they kind of get a little caught up in things. Have you changed your approach there, or have you changed have you thought of any ways to keep those guys focused?
Yeah, I think so. I think you got to adjust. I think in this league and in this job, you just got to constantly evolve and adjust. But I think with specific guys, I kind of talk to them and get a feel for how they're feeling, if they are feeling anything at all. Some guys are kind of oblivious. I think this year's team is a little unique. I think last year and the year before we're in a much different situation where we kind of knew a lot of these guys were going to go, and I think I had to have a lot of conversations with the Kyle Gibsons and some of these guys that kind of had a feeling, the Ian Kennedys, who knew they were probably going to get traded. And those were tough. Because a lot of those guys didn't want to go. Even though we were on a losing team, they still wanted to stay and kind of ride it out. But yeah, I think it's this year's team is unique, and I'll get a feel for who's feeling anything, and if they're thinking that there's a chance they might get traded, but I think just a conversation with them is worth it.
Well, hey, I just want to say congratulations on the last time having to play in Oakland this year. I still can't believe they play Major League Baseball there in 2022. You got 3 games here. Let's win them all and then never have to go back to Oakland in 22.
That sounds like a plan to me.